Good morning and welcome to day 10 of Choosing from His Deep Well, Living Fully While You Wait. Welcome back, my sisters. Over the last 10 days, we've talked about chemistry, character, friendship, discernment, fruit, wisdom, and waiting on God's timing. But if I could leave you with one parting lesson, it would be this. Don't put your life on hold while you're waiting for someone to share it with. Keep drawing from God's deep well. And not for 10 days, although this has been wonderful, but for a lifetime and in every season. One of the greatest lies the enemy whispers to single women is this: your real life will begin when you find the right man. And sisters, we found him. His name is Jesus. The rest of what is said is simply untrue. Your life is happening right now. God is writing your story today. Don't miss today's blessings because you're waiting for tomorrow's. God says, don't worry about tomorrow. Today is sufficient for itself. A few months ago, I found myself walking in Oahu. I was in search of a good cup of coffee and a place to work for a few hours. And now, if you know me well, you know I was on a mission. This girl needs her morning coffee. And that has become so obvious to some people in my life that one morning my 4-year-old grandson hit me with a barrage of questions. And after seeing that I was not my so typical responsive self, he furrowed his brow and asked, "Grandma, do you need your coffee?" Even a child knows the struggle is real. But I digress. Somewhere along that walk, something unexpected began to happen. Joy began to bubble up inside me. It was so full and present that I thought, what on earth is going on? I texted my daughter to tell her something is going on here. God is on the move. A few hours later, I headed back and the same thing happened. God's joy had come over me before, but not in such power and strength. And you know what? It was not because anything that I saw was great or that I was in Hawaii. In fact, I was not there for a vacation. It was not because everything in my life was perfect or every prayer I prayed had been answered. In fact, 2025 was a hard year for me. It unfolded unexpectedly with so much grief. And if it was not for the relationship I had with the Lord, I might still be treading those disappointing waters. But God. Sisters, I leaned in, I sought counsel from the Spirit, and He led me to the quiet waters that restored my peace. Trusting Him in the heavy set me on my feet and put me right in Honolulu for a purpose. As I walked, something else stopped me in my tracks. Here I was, recently having turned 60, doing something I never imagined doing, and that was traveling alone. What was I thinking? But I was not there for a vacation. There was no agenda, no girlfriends, no spouse, and no children at my side. I was there to serve, and I was exactly where God had called me to be. You see, I was living the day and the season God had already planned for me. And boy, was it beautiful. On that trip, I sat at the table with brilliant people, learning about cybersecurity efforts to prevent and intervene in sex trafficking of children. I attended an event where I served alongside people whose hearts beat for the restoration of exploited girls. I had casual dinners with people that I met when I arrived who are genuinely grateful for the lives and ministries God has entrusted to them. I went to a benefit dinner and learned more about the organization that my bridal company supports, and they are doing incredible work restoring trafficked youth. Ladies, I walked away smarter, more equipped, and energized. And that wasn't all. I spent quiet time with the Lord, just hearing from Him, contemplating, dreaming of how He wanted to use me to deepen the impact of restoring girls who have been trafficked. I received clarity while I was there. And I prayed, Father, make your servant ready for this calling. Keep me well, give me wisdom, and bring the laborers. Make me sharp, Father. I listened for God's still small voice about the future He already has for me, and I worked on my book. As I reflect on that trip, I realized something beautiful. It was deeply personal impactful and meaningful, and planned all alone. I wasn't alone. The presence of God was with me. He surrounded me with people to inspire me and let me inspire them. It was the work of ministry. And guess what? The opportunity came just a few months before as I shared about the work of my bridal company online. A representative from the organization asked me to come to Honolulu. You see, God was already working, writing that story before he prompted me to go. And he was waiting for me there. His plan was already unfolding, and it is unfolding for you today. I think many women in the season of singleness focus too much on what we don't have, and they miss the opportunity to embrace what God has already placed in their hands and in their control. He has so many gifts for us in our present season, and one of those is contentment. The Apostle Paul talked about being content in every circumstance. He said he was content in plenty, in lean times, in peril. He had learned to be content. And he wrote those words from a prison. Ladies, we are not in a prison. We are free to be content, grateful, settled, and to go about the work that God is actively doing in the lives that we live. Contentment is not settling. It is not giving up on your hopes and dreams, but it is trusting that God's goodness is present in your current moments. Don't miss out. And the beautiful thing that I learned that morning about joy, it doesn't always arrive when life becomes what we hoped it would be. Sometimes joy quietly catches up with us while we are faithfully and obediently living the life that God has already given us. I didn't go looking for joy that morning. I was on a mission for my coffee, but joy found me. And I believe it found me because I was fully engaged in the life God had placed before me instead of grieving the life I had lost or chasing a life that I imagined I deserved or that I should have. So sister to sister, may I encourage you. Take that trip that if God opens the door. Write the book if he has inspired you to do so. Start the ministry. Volunteer at a place that fills your soul. Take the class that has caught your attention. Learn that new language. Build the business that you've dreamed of building. Pour into those who are around you today. Welcome new friends. Laugh with the old ones. Run the race God has already marked out for you today. That's the only course you need to follow. Don't wait for a relationship to give you permission to live or to assign meaning to your life. You already have that. Jesus gave it to you. Live so fully in the presence of God that whether he brings marriage, friendship, or continued singleness, your life will overflow with purpose and joy. When we are faithful with what God has already entrusted to us, he has a beautiful way of multiplying it for his glory. And perhaps that is one meaning for drawing from his deep well. To find Christ himself is enough in every season. When we get that right, everything else simply overflows because we are in a healthy, more present position. As we close this series, here is your final deep well invitation. Set aside uninterrupted time this evening with the Lord and ask him to help you run the race in the season you're already in, not wasting time longing for tomorrow. Trust his timing. Ask him to help you to choose wisely, to walk in purpose and obedience, to love others generously just as he loves you. And never stop drawing from the water and the well that will never leave you thirsty and never run dry, and that is Jesus. I truly thank you, excuse me, for spending these 10 days with me and hearing about the lessons God has taught me about love, relationships, discernment, and contentment. I hope that you've truly come to understand that choosing from his deep well is really about learning to see dating, love, relationships, and life through God's eyes instead of our own. His vision is perfect. My prayer is that you would leave this study with greater wisdom, deeper peace, and a renewed confidence that the God who writes beautiful stories is writing yours. I look forward to seeing subscribers Friday night as we gather for our final conversation. For all of you who have joined me, here's a special invitation. Beginning July 6th, I'll be launching a new series called Do We Need Men? Elevating the Conversation. Who would have thought that after spending 10 days talking about dating relationships and finding the person we are called to walk alongside, that we'd step into a conversation like this? But as this question grows increasingly louder in the culture and more destructive, this is a topic that's important to me. Rather than adding to the noise and outrage, I want to elevate the conversation and explore what God says about men, women, and character and how that can actually help communities flourish. As I prepare, I welcome your questions, your concerns, and I plan to weave these into the series. I hope you will join me. And until then, keep choosing from his deep well. Thank you for joining me.